depend heavily on the meta, but I feel like Aphelios has consistently just done better in what we've seen from games, because of course the Kalista can put you on a little bit of a timer.
3 games here for Hope. He's won 1 out of those 3 as well. Aphelios a different story where it's about 5 out of 7 games for Hope, so got a lot to prove here on the Kalista game, while for JDG, that jungler looked at before. We know, Lyric, the standard response to letting Wukong through is people saying, hey, we can still play Viego.
Oh, of course, and it's even a second most played champion. JDG, I think, do have a little bit more diversity in terms of if they wanted to leave jungle later, just because Kanavi has been a lot more willing to pull out counter picks like the Bel'Veth that we talked about.
Good point.
But they will just go standard with that. WE now, we know the Aphelios is going to come out. And then it's about if you want to find comfort somewhere else on the Rift, right? Gnar, I think, still being a huge blind pick that is open, has just been the safest pick up in that top lane role. And then you could save support for later on. With so many, like, engage options still available. And heck, right, if JDG do funnel heavily into engage, it even opens you up for things like Braum potentially to be able to come out. So I definitely feel like Gnar would probably be the best look here for WE.
I mean, 369 plays a champion too. It's also worth mentioning that we have a bit of crossover with things like Sejuani, with the Gnar as it's picked up here by WE. The GP2 here for 369 has been one of his most played, so it does feel like it is worth mentioning the top lane champion pool can go anywhere as we now start pondering what JDG want to finish up with, because Lyric, we ain't got no supports on the Rift. While we get a solo laner for one team, it looks like JDG want to respond with one of their own.
And I think this is smart, because you already highlighted all the options 369 has, so save top lane for second rotation, get this now. It sets you up for, you know, some prio in the mid lane. Taliyah, of course, coming into this split, has a lot more scaling options, just with how they rework her threaded volley coming through, that bowler doing massive damage in the late game. So for JDG, I definitely expect to see them ban out some mids, Azir being the go-to for Shanks so far. For WE, I mean, you would theoretically want to ban out top laners, but I feel like 369 just has so many options available. Sejuani might be a good shout, because JDG's comp to me so far is signaling a lot that they're going to play for these like early and mid-game skirmishes. It can be a little bit annoying in lane, just because Gnar has good trade patterns on the way out if you don't find the all-in, but does give you just strong all-in potential and strong engage with that ultimate.
But I like you talked about the top lane bans. One of them already taken by WE. I want to return to JDG's track mine, though, because Shanks doesn't have as big a champion pool as someone like Yagao, despite Yagao playing 12 games of Ari and then 3 or less of any other champion. Azir is highly played. Swain is next highly played. Corki is also there. Lissandra too. LeBlanc, something Shanks hasn't played but has in previous splits. And it feels like right now, Shanks has demanded so much respect with 4 bans from JDG. Now his champion pool is less than half.
And if we only have the Corki and Lissandra available, Yagao would be fine laning against either one of those picks as well. So you could go for like some all-in in your mid lane, gives you more engage, and you even then could have some threat on the Kalista if they did want to go towards something like Lissandra. But I'm curious to see what he will be able to bring out. Now for top lane options, with the Sejuani off the table, I wonder where 369 will go. Kind of surprised they wouldn't just opt into leaving support last, but you kind of already hit on the GP being there. I don't feel like it leans super well into them playing out, you know, this like heavy early game style, but that would be a bit of a throwback, and that would be very 369.
Yeah, it would. There you go. Kennen's already been played. Hasn't won on this split, surprisingly, but 369 Kennen is like any other, so we're already starting to build the foundation of JDG with the support last pick coming through. Lyric, I'll hold on that before we start talking about the comp, because on the other side, WE have really good team fighting elements here, and you got to set me up for how you succeed further.
So Nautilus still being up, that's what JDG highlighted. I think that's what fit their comp the most, but now we're seeing WE already highlight things like the Rakan. Lissandra was the last mid laner we hit on for them about it gives you some engage, but also, right, now you have someone who could very easily just get into the back line, target Hope with that ultimate, and just make it even easier for WE to be able to find these big engages. So we know we're probably rounding it out with an engage support coming through. Nautilus, Rakan, one of the two, and there it is. Nautilus locked in.
All right, we know what WE want to do. Now for JDG. Some of that engage needed, Lyric. Let's be real. We have Kennen, who presses R and electrocutes everyone. But how do you get in there? How do you set up from the front rather than the side?
I kind of expect them to do this because Missing was one of the people who has played Sett a lot over the past splits. Hasn't played it yet this split, so it will be his first. But it's also a champion JDG as a team are comfortable with because 369 has brought that out in the top lane this split. And you've hit on it. For JDG, it's all in, it's engage, it's huge AoE damage coming through, whether it's the Slice Maelstrom, the Showstopper ult from Sett, the worked ground coming out for Yagao. Like, there's so many ways to get a ton of damage off on numerous members. For WE, definitely feels like they have the more pertinent front line coming through with the fact that they do have 3 tanks. And even Lissandra, right? Even though you are squishy, even though it's not that same aftershock Lissandra used to be, you're going to get in the middle of the enemy team, you're going to use your ultimate, you're going to buy a lot of time. So for WE, definitely will be nice if the early game is a little bit slower, but they also do have options to play out a mid game with the Lissandra Wukong.
So does that mean for JDG we start putting a timer on this team? Because with Taliyah, with Kalista, you know, hell, even the Kennen, who we know doesn't scale that badly, it does feel like JDG, Lyric, have tools that later on in the game goes against those tanks are going to be a little bit sloppier to manage.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, right? It's going to be harder to be able to find those engages late game. Also, just the fact of, like, members getting tankier. Obviously, we still have more durability than previous splits. If you aren't able to land that one combo in the late game, well, what damage do you have now? Like, sure, Kalista has, like decent, consistent DPS coming through, which is, like, stacking those spears and then getting that one big rend stack. But WE definitely should be able to triumph if it gets that far. But JDG have been kings at not letting the game go late. So let's see if they can do it once again.
Dude, they're an early game team that'll spread blood on the rift. #1 in champion kills per minute. They're almost averaging a champion kill a minute over every game. Like, that is just nuts. And the fact that this team is the most bloodthirsty in the LPL right now gives me those throwbacks to 2019 to, hell, even parts of 2020 where JDG were skirmish kings. And against WE, who are series winless in the LPL right now, we're going to see if they can pace this game out a little bit and get those tanks to a comfortable point. Now, Lyric, I want to throw this fun stat in that we saw with the Sett being locked in. Missing now has the most unique champion picks in JDG as a team. He is at 12. He's played 12 supports in 6 weeks of the LPL. And it's just kind of crazy that, you know, Missing is showing so much champion diversity and so much skill within the same split. Like, Missing has been long overdue for a bit of a highlight.
And it's reminiscent back to 2020 for him as well, where we were highlighting him. Him and Beishang were pretty much the boys. Elk at that time was still very erratic. We already hit on their soul laners back then. So the fact that Missing comes on to JDG has had a much better year overall than he did in 2021. It's been beautiful. And with this set, right, takes the Glacial Augment, we know, specifically indexing into that Hex Flash, because for Sett support, it's all about just trading Flash, looking for those engages constantly, and setting up Hope to find these advantageous early game trades. So for JDG, we can already see the early game plan and how it's going to pan out. Kanavi pathing down towards that bottom side, play out heavily through Hope and Missing. You do have potential to try to find ganks, you know, in mid, because just both mid laners have CC. If you can blow the Lissandra Flash, opens up even more priority for Yagao, but still should always end up down around Hope and Missing.
Well, I hope so, because that Kalista in lane hasn't done too well for JDG in the past. Hope 1 and 3 on it right now, but as we get a face breaker into Kedaya, who aftershocks and tanks up quite a lot, this Ren stack is going to hurt quite a bit. A little bit of a trade-off off of Xing as well, and Kedaya at half HP with JDG holding the lane in high regard yet again.
Great job coming out from JDG's bot lane, and even just on their like lane strictly Hope and Missing, I feel like them in the 2v2 has been surprising, because thinking back to Hope, especially before coming in as the starter for JDG, right? Like, he was phenomenal on his stint with EDG, but much more of a team fighting AD carry. But maybe we need to pause, because Kanavi,
the doorbell's come early. I mean, honestly, I don't know who sent this delivery, but Kanavi ain't going back. Kedaya and Xing under turret. This will be a hard one as Missing wants to sacrifice himself. He has a full shield about to charge up. Facebreaker great. Cleansed away is Xing under turret with a nice flash, but Missing still tanking up. Kanavi comes in for one shot, and he's rendered to death with first blood. They want the last part of the pieces. Kanavi turns into Aphelios, and Kedaya just has to sit there and wonder, will I be dove? The answer, yes, for now, as Hope takes it up now. But Kedaya flashing away means no summoners left in the bottom lane, and JDG have just blown the early game wide open at 3 minutes.
JDG are just so good at juggling turret aggro. I honestly thought that initial dive wouldn't work out with Xing, cleansing, being able to flash away early, and then maybe buy enough time for the damage ramping to come through and find a kill. But no, JDG able to make it out. WE at least try to respond on the opposite side, but 369 knows what's up. Hey, if I'm going for a play on the bottom side of the map, then I know the enemy jungler should be up towards the top side. So he's going to get some decent damage, and especially spotting out where he is, getting the confirmation that he was there.
Doesn't let him
and straight into the replay, we just see here, level 2 dive coming through, missing going straight in. He finds the face breaker right onto Xing. And here, throws out the W, so he's able to tank an extra shot. Kanavi takes the next one, and no one getting too low. Just really nice coordination.
And the first blood going over to Hope as well. Berserker Greaves at 4 minutes into the game. This is going to be a bit of a nightmare, especially since Hope still has both summoners here, Lyric. Missing with the Hex Flash you talked about. Sett doesn't care. So, as the lane looks good starting in the bottom side, we also have to remember that there's so many ample opportunities for JDG. It doesn't just have to be about bot. You talked a little bit about this early game, but I wanted to reiterate, Yagao on this Taliyah, a strong mid 2v2. I feel like Yagao's ulti as well. Once that comes online for WE, they've got to look both ways at once.
100%. That's why, right, we've talked a lot about what JDG want to look to do in the early game. I feel like for WE, your best option would be trying to look mid first. Lissandra just brings such great setup, right? Being able to close the gap with your E and then straight into your W to lock someone down.
Sure.
Yagao has unsealed spellbook, so he does have cleanse. But burning any summoners, especially if you can burn that flash, make him have to question if he wants to look for those Weaver's walls at level 6, I think will at least stunt JDG's momentum by a decent amount, but it's not being stunted right now.
Because we're so early on. Facebreaker again. Remember, Kedaya has no summoners. Burned it in the last raise. The dredge line away. Makes it so the true damage comes through. Hope for the Rand. Kanavi for the second assist. And JDG just doing JDG things to kick off this series.
And this is one of the nicest things about this roster, is that you have two sides of the map you can play around. We know 369 from his days on TS. We've seen it this split that, like, he likes to play aggressive. He is someone who will go forward, and if you put those resources into him, can carry. But with this bot lane, the fact that you have that diversity and you're able to have these options depending on the matchup just gives them so much.
Lyric, I'm concerned. I'm really concerned. You know why? Because in the middle of your point, I saw 369 angling at level 6. Now, BiuBiu has a hop. He has flash. But 369's an animal on Kennen. Literally, I'm pretty sure. Isn't Kennen a rat? Wait, is Kennen an animal or not?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a Yordle. Have you ever...
Yordle's not an animal.
Wait. Kennen
I can hear you Googling, yeah.
Kennen without the mask. Let's see. I don't want to Google... Oh, he's like a hamster, isn't he?
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I always think... People think of him as a raccoon, but I feel like that's just because of Nuggery, because...
He looks like a gerbil.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
luckily we do have that like martial arts skin of him, which gives a pretty good look.
Kennen without the mask. I need to see myself. Thank God for remote broadcasting, by the way. And you're right. He is kind of like he's a hamster or he's a gerbil. So yeah, Kennen, ladies and gentlemen, is an animal. We found out here today. But 369, the play was animalistic. That's what I was looking for. The flash with a lightning mouse drop. That's available. However, BiuBiu is 6 himself and still has the flash too and the hop. So we'll cancel that one out, Lyric. You're talking a little bit about WE in draft and coming back to the point I so rudely interrupted. Setting up for WE and playing this early game a little bit slower. So far, despite bot kind of being a bit of a calamity, at the very least, these two solo lanes are going well. And Beishang is almost level 6 and without falling too much further behind.
The rough thing for WE is... Right, you've already started to fall in a bit of a hole. It's almost a 2K gold lead that, like, even if you look to cross map, right, and you look to play up towards top, or you look for the gank mid, then you go for a dive on 369 as 3 members, I feel like JDG now with the lead bot can just get more than you can from cross mapping.
Right.
So I still feel like maybe the first plan of action should be looking mid, because if you look mid first, you can then try to walk down towards bot, clear out enemy vision, and give more safety to your bot lane. We're not going to see that right now because Herald is coming up on the map, but they need to find a way to stem the bleeding bot, and they can't walk through bot first, because just with the strength of JDG right now in that 3v3, it would be something they would lose out on. So they need to look somewhere else first, but hey, looks like we might get a contest coming for Herald with both bot lanes moving up.
Well, I mean, maybe, but the thing is, Hope and Missing are here first, trailing behind Xing and Kedaya, but Lyric, it's level 6. on Hope. So the Fate's Call is up and available, as now Missing goes into the choke himself with the Facebreaker onto Beishang, coming a little bit late. He's timed it well, but the seismic shot from Yagao, absolutely beautiful from the standout player of this split. The Fate's Call was a 3-man knock-up, as you said. Hope nails him down, but first he takes Beishang with him. 3-0 for JDG. The Herald was taken in the process. This is an utter stomp, and it's JDG making it look clean.
Yeah, 369 going down to finish off the Herald while his team was cleaning up those kills. So we should at least know where the Herald will be used. Probably going to be towards his top side. 369 always could opt into pushing in the wave. You make your way down to mid and, you know, use one of those like timings where you have prio to just drop it mid lane instead if you would instead prefer to open the map a little bit bigger for your Taliyah. But point is, right, it's at least more trackable than if it was on someone like Kanavi where you're like, okay, we have no idea where he is. This is 369.
Trying for the solo kill at the very least. Doesn't have enough damage at this point, and BiuBiu will hold onto the summoner, but not the health bar. Kanavi has a reset potential. His hop was just used. Going into Mega Gnar, timing is everything here, but for BiuBiu, getting locked down will not be the play as he flashes out. And Kanavi takes a third turret shot, so Summoner now down, but BiuBiu remains under the turret and remains alive.
I'm just glad that we sold JDG correctly. Like, the level of aggression you know you're going to see from a JDG game as we get into the replay. They had more members here first because of that push and bot. Missing finds the Facebreaker onto Beishang, and Yagao coming in beautifully with the seismic shove onto the Nautilus. And then they just keep following in with this engage. I think Beishang, a little bit questionable for him to jump in with such low HP, but they've already committed to the play. It seems like he just felt very pressured of like, okay, we've already brought all members up here. Like, what are we doing? We're already losing in lane. We need to find something. Tries to go back in, tries to find the ultimate, but the Fate's Call was just too much coming out from JDG.
And look, as you said before, you gave WE like this little bit of hope or how they should play the game. But things are progressing so fast. I don't think WE have time to breathe. Herald on the top side, Dragon spawning as well. Bot is now 3-0 with Noon Quiver. Like, if I'm WE, if I'm playing this game right now, Lyric, and I see the scoreboard and I see the items progressing so quickly on JDG's members, I start thinking like, God, like, can we even think to make that play mid when JDG already have so much control?
No, it's going to be rough, especially now we see Mythic coming out for 369, Kempung Chainsword coming out for Kanavi, an item we've been seeing a little bit more of these past few days, coming out as first items. Just, you know, very item efficient to be able to come through with the stats it offers. I remember me and you were talking about this the other day. It's something like 120, you know,
126% you said. I don't know why I remember that, but
126% gold efficient with the stats you are able to get. Bot lane's extremely close to their mythics as well. So yeah, I feel like JDG overall just feeling like they're in a really solid spot right now.
It's a really clean start to the series. Again, we know JDG is this Game 3 team, but we also know JDG is this top tier team that sheds the most blood in the LPL. For JDG as well, this game has just been so clean, and I have to give props once again to the bottom lane. Like, Hope and Missing throughout the individual lane have been stellar, but Kanavi alongside that has been at the right place at the right time as he once again sets himself up for Xing and Kedaya, who just have to back away. Why would you ever want to be anywhere near a three-man core of JDG's? Yagao, even through a blind spot, finds Shanks, who wants to roam down and help, but you can't do a thing. Even Yagao says no.
No, not able to do anything. Still, at least WE prevent any deaths coming through in terms of the fact that Beishang was able to hover around, but JDG just keeping up this pressure and keeping up some solid vision control, right? We can see, especially towards that bottom side jungle. WE have done a nice job with their own vision in terms of defensive wards in their own jungle, but now that we have this Weaver's Wall online, that's not really going to stop Yagao from being able to find plays on either side of the map.
True, at least there's one ward and top side here for BiuBiu with the control ward, but might be outside the Weaver's Wall for now. I was also going to say to you, Lyric, that the vision you talked about earlier, as I might need to hold because BiuBiu doesn't have flash. He has hot, but 369 with an ulti. Never mind, it is Gnar. You know, he'll be fine from one yordle to another. Lyric, the vision you talked about, dude, is insane. Like, JDG have it so deep in the enemy jungle. WE slowly clearing it out. But while they clear out bottom side and they're on the vision, the dive comes through. BiuBiu hops away, but here's Missing. Great face breaker, the haymaker, and the decision taker is JDG's motto in this game. 4,000 gold and another kill against WE.
It does kind of hurt. we set up that, you know, the upset was possible, right? And this is only one game. For people who don't tune in too much, JDG really do have a pattern of like stomp one game, get stomped another, but I'll pause on that as
No
W
support.
wanting to find something.
Okay, depth charge. Hope doesn't have anyone. Both summoners available, but he's locked in place. Now on the turret, Beishang doing his best, but Kedaya dies at the turret. Beishang taking a couple of shots. He'll survive, but that's just how strong he is right now. A couple of hops, and down goes the 1-for-1.
I was scared that he was going to be able to get away, considering the initial burst didn't bring him down. But Beishang, able to commit, at least makes so they're able to find one. You do get a 1-for-1. You do deny some farms. We see elsewhere on the map that WE having to commit so many resources to the play, but that they're actually losing out more elsewhere. I feel like this does fall in line with like what happens in League of Legends when you fall behind. That, right? Like as a general overview, when you fall behind, you typically need to commit more resources than the enemy team to be able to find a play like just worth less value. So WE did do that. It just kind of sucks that they're already 5k gold in the hole and that they have to be looking for these plays. As we can see with the vision we were setting up for JDG, that they knew this was coming, just nothing they could really do when they sent so many members top. Kedaya uses the ultimate, doesn't hit the hook, but doesn't really mean too much in my opinion when he still closes the gap to be able to get the hit off with the passive, and then just not tanking enough. The turret able to bring him down, and then Beishang having to commit his flash as well in the end, or Hope maybe actually would have been able to get away.
I said there was a lot of damage from Hope, but I think he ordered once or twice. So just the turret ramping up as Beishang, even in his own jungle, we come back to live. He's been bullied out once again. So a dive that was a trade for WE, but it doesn't mean that the game's going any better as Xing is on the wrong side of the wall. He flashes, but he's missing with his own against the wall. That's just bullying at this point. A haymaker shield, enough as Missing survives, getting away from the last turret shot. JDG with another one, and it goes from bad to worse every time. We switch a lane.
I mean, they didn't even hit everything either. Yagao didn't even land the seismic shove, despite the fact that Xing was locked into place. That's not to throw shade at Yagao, just like it shows they don't even need to hit everything to be able to find these kills, right? With the amount of damage coming across. Luden's now built on top of the stopwatch, so now even having some extra built-in safety in your mid laner. And with second Rift Herald up, I wonder if JDG will contest, because they might be strong enough just to contest 4v5 with 369 having that slicing Maelstrom up.
Missing at least not having the ulti, so maybe WE going to try and utilize Shanks here, who is level 11 and probably the best performing member right now, but JDG giving the respect and backing away. So WE finally getting an objective here in this game, and maybe they can do something with this lyric. Maybe they can try and stall the game out, because I'm sick of talking about how good JDG are. I want some hope for WE. When we set up that their early game was their prime factor in the RNG series, in all three games, right? Their early game was a lot better. Here against JDG, they're struggling to have a say.
Maybe Kedaya finds this?
Does he have flash?
Nope.
Yes.
Not even gonna go for it. You said you want some hope for JDG.
Is this it?
I don't know if you could trade players in the middle of a game, but hey, you were building some banger rosters on last hit, so if you want hope on WE, count me in.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll be honest though, I don't think Hope was my first choice in my quick little roster. I think it was LGD's Assam.
I was going to say, to be fair, you weren't allowed to pick Hope in your roster.
Oh, true.
Missing.
That's right. Only bottom 17 teams. 11 to 17. Bottom 17. That is all of them. There'll be a day where we have 30 LPL teams, and I'll tell you what, that'll be a true fact. I'm just waiting for us to go up even more. We stopped at 17. My
Which
OCD
is kind of
is annoying.
Yeah, right? The number is just... I kind of like it just because I'm a consummate hipster. I love weird things that don't make sense for any reason. People are like, why is this happening? I'm a big fan. But it does feel a bit odd that, you know, that is where we ended up. But, you know, hey, you don't always get to choose what happens to you in your life. You just have to accept it with open arms.
We have.
That's 17 teams.
I mean, we've been sitting on it for a couple of years, so I think we've gotten past the point of accepting it. Just knowing there's this many teams, and WE right now sitting 17th. JDG top 3. As Kanavi is putting on a bit of a showcase in this first game. If you're just tuning in, this is a massacre. And it's all about how WE can time out the game, as BiuBiu's about to go into the Mega Gnar, but Yagao is simply away with the Ghost Burn with his Unsealed Spellbook.
Yep, pop the Ghost. So good catch on that one. Now we'll have his flashback up, so, you know, not really a loss going over for Yagao. Yagao on that side, as now JDG going to try and get vision control down towards that bottom lane. to probably be able to start looking for picks, which is what their comp is really good at. And now as I take a drink of water so I can keep talking, back to you, sir.
I was going to say, though, for JDG, 3 minutes 15 till the soul is taken so early in the game. W might actually be caught out here as the Weaver's Wall going to zone out. Not Kedaya, but Beishang pronounced the burner flash over the wall. TP coming through as well, so JDG have priority over this top side, and maybe enough to even burn the mid lane turret too. Kanavi going behind enemy lines as Missing still wants that engage with the ulti. And with the showstopper available, I mean, this constant threat of the dive there is a seismic shove too. This is just going to be turret taken, Lyric, and as BiuBiu comes in Mini-Gnar, they get the engage down. Shanks with a good ulti. They're all in, but 369 is just so much better. 1 ulti versus 3, and WE are routed way too far behind as Kanavi turns into a mini person and is about to turn into a massive little Big Daddy. That doesn't make sense, but I'll get there eventually. JDG with 5 up. What more needs to be said that this massacre continues to play out?
I mean, WE are trying their best, guys. They're trying to find anything they could. Kedaya lands the hook, but 369. I was actually just about to kind of give JDG a bit of criticism in terms of the TP coming through, but when the enemy team is going to engage with all 5 of you right in front of them, it just sets up for that TP to, you know, have been so useful coming through. We'll go back into it, right? Trying to siege down this mid lane turret. They're like, hey, we need to find something. Shanks actually the one to go in, chaining it with Kedaya's hook. You're really nowhere close to Mega, though. You're getting this damage off not onto key members, and there it is. Slicing Maelstrom comes through. On to 3 members of WE. I even believe it did tag Kedaya for just a little bit as well, so actually getting value on 4 members to come through. They get low. Kanavi's on our reset champion. Reset, reset, reset. It is what it is.
It is what it is, and it was an easy play for JDG. I was watching Missing during the replay, Lyric. Gets so low. True damage comes through from the Haymaker, and then the Fate's Call from Hope when he's on about 10, maybe 100 HP, if even that. Saves his life. Missing doesn't go down. A beautiful engage from all parts. The bloodthirsty JDG continues in front of our screen. This game one looks so easy. It looks so done. We're at 20 minutes into the game, Lyric, and there's a soul coming up in a minute. Baron's now up as well. And everyone's on their second item. Even going towards their third in 369 in Hope's case too.
Yeah, we can see things like the Seraphs coming out for Yagao. It's a really good spike for the Taliyah, just getting more of the ability haste to come through. You have low cooldown abilities, just being able to spam those even more, and just constantly putting up this threat. Doesn't even matter if they itemize now against a double AP threat, considering that 369 went straight into that Void Staff second. And we hit on vision control earlier on, but JDG have just been keeping it up. They've been having wards so deep into WE's jungle. Even a few times, just some really good wards placed out that WE hasn't spotted. But WE now is going to spot out these ones, and they're trying to at least make sure they have some control over the Baron pit, so JDG can't do any sneaky shenanigans with that one.
But I mean, for JDG, these ultimates back up and available, and that Weaver's Wall we concerned about so many times. Xing is lucky to be alive here because Missing in 369 setting up the play while the rest of JDG are moving into position themselves. But Lyric, the problem with WE getting topside.
I was hoping.
Close.
Missing went in. Missing went in. It was close. He probably would have just stopped it and backed away, but it would be pretty hype to see Missing and Xing have a 1v1 right now. They both do have summoners up, so realistically, whoever was losing could flash away, but at this point in time, I feel like that's what we got is JDG. JDG, just keep pushing forward, man. The bricks on the gas pedal. What do you do, WE? It's coming full speed at you.
What was my comparison? The Mr. Bean episode. Where
yeah,
he puts
the Mr. Bean.
Puts the brick on the accelerator, gets up on top on his armchair. And, you know, a lot of the time with JDG, it's like the broom snapping off in the same episode. The brake's not available. You got to just hope that you come to an uphill surface. You don't know what's going to happen next. For JDG this time around, it was a very nice incline back up. And nothing bad went wrong. 1 kill over to WE shows that, and now with the soul, this team is looking clinical as BiuBiu is about to get solo killed. Stuns up, guns up, and BiuBiu is just dead with 2 ticks of the ulti. Shanks looking for the chase, but it's done. Well, JDG in the meantime are going to take a 22-minute Baron with WE showing on the bottom side.
Baron comes through, but they had no chance of catching 369, especially with Cloud Soul. That's something Kennen loves. Like, he's able to zoom out of there. But WE wanting to contest this Baron. Hope already very low.
No. Kedaya's flash forward by himself with the Weaver's Wall zoning out the rest of the team. The show stop it down, and Shanks now with more true damage on top. Hope once again saving his support as Beishang gets a kill of his own. But look how messy this fight is. JDG thriving it. They're molded by it. As Kanavi comes out, champion after champion. JDG still left with 4 members. and a dominating Game 1 experience against WE.
JDG, it doesn't matter if Hope goes down. They just have too many strong members at this point. It is true money difference coming through on the Rift. And now they've turned it into a Baron. They already have Soul. Right, this game's just a matter of time. This game ends when JDG wants it to end.
This is JDG on all fours. I mean, this is, you know, when Volibear got down in the old skin, started running at you, that's what it feels like for WE. You're about to get flipped. And
I do want to say I actually very much missed the flip. I think it was one of the cooler looking visual. The good old days. We see, I mean, there isn't too much of this replay. He hits Q, he runs in, presses his Slicing Maelstrom. He's able to get away. Like I said, help of the Cloud Soul especially coming through. And then for WE wanting to commit, Kedaya flash Q, misses on the Q, but still the Lissandra able to get in there. You get a bit more damage on the Hope. Beishang finds a way into the back line. But at the end of the day, when you have Yagao free hitting, when you have Kanavi being able to be set up for the resets coming out from the Taliyah damage, just like, okay, WE, you just don't have enough at this point in the game, right? 13K gold. I wonder what the highest gold differences we've had this split.
It's
I think
definitely been
V5
close
had
towards
close.
20K.
Yeah, I think V5 had one that was close to 20.
Is Kanavi caught out though? Glacier Prison comes through. That's a good time stopwatch if I can speak properly. But if he flashes over the wall, now for WE, a bit of a pick to slow it down, but 369 close to blowing up Kedaya, simply on the other side of that barrier of a wall. JDG still with the Baron, still with their jungler getting forced out, are doing enough with their solo laners at this point, as missing is going to scare away BiuBiu too. Inhibitors now exposed, 369 is huge on this Kennen, and JDG, it's just so good to watch when a top team is this clinical to open up against the series. No shenanigans, no back and forth, JDG playing with their food, nice and simple.
Yeah, even though, again, V5, I think, do currently look like the best team. Top esports, think you can argue, have looked better than JDG. JDG, in their wins, have looked like the most dominant team this split. Is missing. He goes for it.
He doesn't care if he dies here. 4 members still with the Baron buff, and WE getting a trade-off slowed things down. But Yagao and 369 with the Proto Belt forward still have the damage to take away one Nexus turret. WE with Gnar, maybe it's threatening enough, but Lyric, as you said, the gold is massive. A 2-man ulti from BiuBiu, but he doesn't have enough damage to follow up there from Xing. Ain't in it as well.
Tickles them.
And 369 getting kill after kill. I mean, JDG right now, this is going to end right here because WE are left with 3 members dead. Kedaya's had a rough game of it, 0-4, but so is his AD carries. Beishang will give another reset. Kanavi's come back into play. Jing Dong Gaming have not only rung the doorbell, but they've slammed the door in WE's face.
JDG sitting at 8-1 for a reason. WE, they are an 0-7 team, but these are the types of games like that JDG just delivers. The question going forward is going to be if they can do it again, right? That's one of our big things with JDG. We know what their ceiling looks like. We know that they can dominantly beat teams, whether it's a team like WE or like back in week 1 when they took down Top Esports. Sure. The question is just about being able to do this consistently, being able to find that third like 2-0 of the split. So for JDG, beautiful win. Kanavi especially just hammering down on that bottom lane and then missing in Hope, knowing exactly what to do with that advantage. You were hitting on just like kind of the small like slim margins that JDG was playing off, especially missing with his health bar, just like the trust that Hope had in him. So there you go, everyone out there, find you someone who trusts you the way that Missing trusts Hope. And there's really nothing to be critical of from JDG in this game.
That's right, because this game was so clean from start to finish, and I will say, you know, the couple of kills going over his trades, but when you're that far ahead, who cares? JDG, as I said in game, were playing with their food a little bit, and it's really nice to see that when you started this segment saying, okay, JDG getting towards playoffs, we are past the halfway point in the split, JDG do need to clean things up. This is one of the cleanest games I've seen of their VODs throughout the split. And now we just have to see if JDG, you know, repeat history where Game 2 is going to be a bit more slobbery. Is Game 2 going to be like a sneeze here, Lyric? I don't know.
Wow. The damage is pretty surprising. Missing coming out even over Hope. I mean, heck, you even pointed out like a couple times, right? Especially the dive where you're like, Hope didn't even have to auto in this situation. Just the 1-for-1 coming through that tower. But 369, I mean, 369, a lot of this damage being padded from, like, his trades in lane. But, I mean, the slicing Maelstroms, right? Those were huge. Those were absolutely massive. Every time we saw pretty consistently being able to hit like 3 or 4 members. He even found the solo kills this game, but I don't know. There's no single member to highlight on JDG in my mind. Maybe Kanavi for the early game that he was able to put together, but the strength of this JDG roster is just how they bring it together. It's very reminiscent to 2020 in that sense, where that was one of the things we highlighted, was like, right, how the team worked together back then when they did have Zoom, Luma, and Loken on the roster. But this is just that JDG just like maxed out in terms of level of agency and proactivity and being able to push a lead forward. So yeah, JDG, I feel like we've hit on enough. WE, sadly not much to say as well, but I mean, going to game 2, you at least now know the level of aggression to be able to expect coming out from the side of JDG. If they can get some vision down, especially towards that bot side, hopefully they can have a better time in laning phase.
Yeah, because please, I mean, WE need a series win soon. Maybe you don't fight against JDG, but even a game would make me more happy. Let's see if that early game comes back that we saw against RNG, or if JDG get us quicker to RNG LNG in under an hour after this.